So I actually found this Korean drama because I saw a few comments on my lesson videos about how there was a show called Navillera that inspired people to come to my videos. So I had to, of course, watch it because I'm obsessed with TV shows and I have so many thoughts about it. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the dancing and how I felt about the two main characters of the show. As a note, I'm not going to be giving any real spoilers. If you haven't seen it, don't worry. A little bit of background, this is my first Korean drama that I've seen in a while. And I watched this drama with Jamie and it was his first Korean drama ever. And if you don't know what a Korean drama is, it's a South Korean show and it's edited in a very specific way. Everything's, of course, very dramatized. These Korean dramas are extremely popular worldwide and they're known to be extremely addicting. So as a quick overview, we are going to be following the two main characters of the show, the 23-year-old man and the 70-year-old man. So the 70-year-old man is the one that doesn't know any ballet and he really wants to learn. The 23-year-old man is very stubborn. He has great prospects with a professional ballet career, but he doesn't seem to be taking his training very seriously and his coach is very worried about that. Through an arrangement, the 23-year-old ends up having to teach the 70-year-old, and the 70-year-old ends up being the 23-year-old's personal manager. So the 70-year-old follows the younger man around and kind of makes sure he eats and takes care of himself and doesn't injure himself and just, you know, is overall a responsible human. And as you might have guessed already, the plot is really just about them growing on each other and learning from one another. And it is the most wholesome thing ever. And I'm not going to actually use their names in this video just because these are Korean names and I will butcher them. And my mind actually just thinks of them as 23-year-old and 70-year-old. So I related a lot to the 7-year-old man that was learning ballet because, of course, he's much older than I am, but he goes through the same struggles of not being physically ready for ballet and really struggling to learn this art form that he seems to love out of nowhere. The one thing that I can definitely relate to is that when this man began learning ballet, no one was supporting him and no one was taking him very seriously. We see that he goes through a lot of conflict with his family because the family is embarrassed that he's learning ballet. And then we see that the people in the ballet world are not taking him seriously because he's so much older.
아, 채록이한테 발레 배우고 있는 어르신이야? 아, 발레를요?
이제 막 시작한 초보예요. 기본기 기계도 바쁜.
취미로 하기엔 엄청 힘들 텐데. 대단하시네요. 채록이도 대단하고. 아, 요즘 국내 취미 발레 붐이 좀 있다더니 진짜네. 그냥 즐기세요.
예? 예.
So what just happened is that a professional dancer just learned that this man is learning ballet for the first time, and the professional dancer is just telling him, well, you know, just make sure you have fun. And in some ways, it's really painful because we've seen that this old man really loves ballet. This is not just a hobby that he's doing because he is bored out of his mind. This is something he's always wanted to do as a child. This is something that he will potentially be dedicating the remainder of his life to, is just learning ballet. And we see that no one's really taking him seriously and everyone thinks that he's just kind of fooling around. But what was really interesting about this is that we later learned that the old man is really not affected by anyone's comment. He doesn't really care if people don't take him seriously because he loves ballet and he knows he loves ballet, and that's really enough for him.
Accept yourself. Love yourself.
I wished I was that strong because I think back to when I was beginning and I hated how other teachers sometimes would not take me seriously. I remember being in a lot of drop-in classes and some of these drop-in teachers really don't care for their adult students because they're mainly there for the children and kind of the company, but they need their salary, so therefore they're forced to be teaching adults and they're usually not a fan of it. So they give you combinations and you just do them and they have no energy and they don't really care about correcting you. They don't really care if you're doing it right or wrong. They just want to be paid. And that was always so frustrating for me because if I was 13 or if everyone in this room was 13, this would not be how we would be treated. But because we were older, people just kind of didn't care. It's frustrating having to seek out the people that will understand you because it feels like the majority of the ballet world won't understand you. And I don't know what the solution to this is other than building a strong adult ballet community online and then hoping that it grows and materializes in the real world. And that's why I'm filming videos like this now, and that's why I feel the need to be more active on this channel now, because I do feel this need to build this community, because if we can rally in numbers, I think that is really the first step to be taken seriously in the world.
왜? 제로 가?
할아버지 취미로 발레하는 거 아니라고요. 6개월밖에 안 됐지만 할아버지 남은 인생 전부 다 걸고 하는 거예요.
그래. 응원할게.
All right, that was a really long rant. Let's move on to talking about the 23-year-old. Again, the 23-year-old character is the one that is extremely talented and on a career trajectory for professional ballet. And the ways that I relate to him is his obsession with ballet. We see that he's about to enter a ballet competition, but he has injured himself. So instead of resting and maybe giving up that competition, he is just taking painkillers and just dancing his way through it, just brute forcing his way through it. And of course, as an audience, you're seeing this young person almost put their body and themselves in danger, and you're thinking, wow, how idiotic. But there's a part of me that totally understands why he's doing this, because I have definitely danced on injuries. I have performed on torn tendons, and even though it's very idiotic to do so, as a young person, I really couldn't help myself. I just loved ballet so much that I really couldn't see the long-term vision. I really didn't even think about how this might affect me in the future as I dance. I really just wasn't thinking. All I knew was that I loved ballet and I wanted to do it right now. And that thought has led me down some not so great paths, but seeing that reflected in this young, talented dancer made me think about how I've grown so much from that. And I'm really happy that, you know, I can still love ballet, but I can still respect my own body and have boundaries. I think I've done enough analysis on the characters. Let's actually move on to talking about the show. So I think the show tried a little bit too hard to push this message that the 70-year-old is a very good dancer at the end, because we have seen him throughout the whole season, and at the end, after learning ballet, he's not actually that good. And that is okay. He shouldn't be expected to be this amazing dancer at the end. That's not very realistic given his age and the time of training, right? But the show tried really hard to convince you that he became amazing at the end. And even Jamie, the guy that did a total of half a lesson, knows that that narrative was unrealistic. The more realistic thing that I think the show could have done is to just talk about how touching the old man's passion for ballet is. I think we should have dove into more how it's so heartwarming to see someone love something so much and try so hard at something. So let's talk about the other dancing on the show that isn't from the two main characters. Just as a side note, you will see a lot of dancing in the show because some of the scenes take place at a ballet school. And I don't know if they hired the best dancers in Korea to be a part of the show, but they definitely hired professional dancers to be on the show, because the certain scenes at the school, you see kind of the whole group doing some variation, and you can tell they are professionals. They're not just some randos. I really enjoyed the scenes where there was real dancing from them. Also, one thing to note, the 23-year-old, the actor for that character is actually not a dancer, and he had a body double the whole entire time. They did such a good job with the body double. The body double must have worn like a wig or something, because sometimes the shadows of the body double looks so similar to the actor. So I think the directors and the people who hired the body double did an awesome job. The last thing I want to talk about is this one scene where we see a bunch of amateur ballet dancers taking a class together, and that just made my heart go very warm and fuzzy, because that looked like a very normal ballet class to me. That's something we never really see on TV. I feel like we see the best of the best, or we see some randos doing ballet-like things, but just seeing amateurs who obviously have been dancing for a while. There was a scene where we just saw a class full of those people, and I don't know, it just felt really good to see adult ballet community making it onto a TV show. Anyways, as you can tell, I really like the show. I love that this is really the first Korean drama that I have seen that it isn't about love. There's really no real romance in this show. It's really just about people and their passion for the thing that they're doing. And that type of show, I feel like I can relate to more. So as a closing statement, every single day I get comments about whether or not it's too late for this person to learn ballet because they're XYZ age. And my initial thought is, of course it's not too late. I mean, if you're learning ballet, then you're learning ballet, right? If you have the capability to do it, then you can do it today or tomorrow. So there's no such thing as being too late to learning this thing. But I think the question that is actually being asked when I see these type of comments is, oh, am I ever gonna be good enough to be like the people I see on videos or on Instagram or in the best ballet companies in the world? And maybe the answer to that is, I don't know your body, so I don't know what to say. Maybe it could be, but the more realistic answer I have for you is probably not. You're probably not gonna be some Instagram ballet model. You're probably not going to make it into the best ballet company in the world. But just so you know, the majority of ballet dancers don't become ballet Instagram models or make it to the best companies in the world. So it's not a very realistic thing. I think social media has really raised our bar of expectation of what a good dancer looks like. I've noticed it in myself. When I go on social media and I watch ballet, I am literally watching the top dancers in the world. This is like 0.00001% of the ballet community. And because I only watch that, I really felt like I had to look like that, otherwise I wasn't good. And I realized that I'm setting this crazy, unrealistic expectation on myself, and all I'm doing is really setting myself up for disappointment. So I'm trying hard to let it go. I am trying hard to just digest what it looks like to dance every day, how other people look like when they're dancing, instead of just digesting professional ballet content. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that it's not too late to learn ballet. It's never too late to learn ballet. I am not saying this because the show followed a 70-year-old that is learning ballet. I'm saying this because I've seen people who take their first ballet class, maybe not at 70, but at 50 or at 60 or whatever. And this happens so much more often than you think. But I think one takeaway that I had from the show is that really no matter where you start, no matter what age you start, you can experience the love for ballet still. You don't have to be a young 13-year-old to love ballet and to feel good when you're dancing. You can experience all of that even when you're 70. Even if you can't do a lot of these moves, you can still have these feel-good feelings that everyone gets when they dance. Anyways, this has been such a long video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone.